Hi everyone, in today's video I'll be talking about one of the latest characters that's been added to the game, Golden Pegasus Seiya. Now, Seiya God Clause has also been added to the game at the same time. However, I will probably want to wait another 3 days till all of the trial stages are unlocked before doing a video for him, just so that I can cover all of the contents in one go. So keep an eye out for that video, but in today's one I'm just going to talk about Astral Seiya. Now, Astral Seiya is obviously an Astral Knight, so that basically means that you will need to link him up with another character and he will copy that character's star level. So you don't need any duplicate of him, just single copy is enough and he will automatically copy the other character. So if the other character is already 16 stars, then Astral Seiya will also become 16 stars. Now, close and constellation are calculated separately, so unfortunately you still have to, use resources to level them up yourself. All right. So as usual, I'll be talking through of his skill, close, and constellation. I will also briefly mention which character have really good synergy with him, so you may want to place them together in a team, and just kind of in general, what's the game plan for Astra Seiya. Now, if we start off with his Ultima basically has three enemies. The damage output, the damage scaling is okay. It's not great, but it's not too bad either. But the main thing here to note is, first of all, at level 2, what it does is that when you're hitting the same target again, you're going to increase your crit rate. So basically, that shows Astra Seiya normally gets stronger as the battle goes on. So he's one of those characters who benefit from a long, drawn out battle. And the other really worth mentioning aspect of this ultimate is the repel effect, which is a compulsory interruption. So this is a control effect, but also because it's compulsory, it cannot be stopped at all. So which is really nice and it can be really useful, especially in PvP. For example, if you want to interrupt the enemies, let's say Aris moves, Crystal Wall, etc. So you can basically have the potential to interrupt really OP skills, and that's really useful in PvP. Now, next we have his looping skill. Now, this is not a control effect. It's only a single target this time. However, you are also able to knock down, and the damage output is actually not bad. Like 390% for looping skill is actually quite decent. Um, so this is nothing for you to overlook at either. Main thing I guess to take away here is that it has a control effect. So you already right now have Astral Seiya with two skills and two control effects. So that's very nice. Then we move on to his passive, God of Pegasus. This is probably what I would say is his signature skill, and this skill will also be further improved with his clothes, and that basically just shows you how important it is. Now, at level 3, basically what it does is it has a 65% chance to reduce damage on him by 50% when getting hurt by a skill attack. So you can think of that as just kind of like a built-in 50% damage reduction, but at the probability of only 65% of the time. Level 2, however, is a really interesting one. It almost turns this into a bit of a trigger attack because what this is saying is that whenever an enemy is knocked up, he will release Pegasus Strike. And Pegasus Strike is his looping skill, which I just mentioned, and the one that does 390% damage. So that's actually a pretty decent damage dealing attack. And basically, you can almost see a strategy with Astral Seiya already. Is that if you actually play Astral Seiya in a team with loads of other characters who are also able to inflict knock up ability, then what's going to happen is Seiya will be constantly, just triggering his Pegasus Strike and just have no cooldown either. So you can theoretically just keep on triggering the skill and just hitting the enemy one by one. And every single one of them have a control effect as well. They all have a knockdown effect. So this could actually be really both strong in terms of damage wise, but also quite disruptive because you can potentially interrupt the enemy multiple times as well. So this is actually really good, and that's why I say God of Pegasus is actually kind of like his signature skill. All right, now if we move on to and also just to talk about in terms of synergy, so which character actually have this knock up ability? It's actually very nice. A lot of wind characters have this knockout ability. So the ones that come to my head is Seahorse Bion. You have Misty, Lizard Misty. You have Astro Huga, and also you have Deal. So those four all have knock-up effect, and they're all wind characters. And that basically means what you can theoretically do is you can actually do a mono wind team with this kind of Astral Seiya at the core of it, and basically what you are then able to do is kind of relying on all other four characters to do knockup attack, and then Astral Seiya just keep following up with this trigger and just keep on hitting everyone with Pegasus Strike. So that's actually really strong, and it's really nice mono team as well, because normally when people think about like mono wind team, a lot of people jump straight to like kind of like a freeze team with Akras Camus, Akras Huga, maybe Astro Huga, Kraken Isaac, etc. But now you have an alternative of a mono wind team, which is really nice. So that's another something to bear in mind. And lastly, we have another passive, and this one's Burning Cosmo. And what this is basically saying is that whenever Seiya get hit by 10% of max HP, what's going to happen is he's going to get a stack of Burning Fighting Will, and at the highest level, this is going to increase the speed of Cosmo gaining by 10%. And because it can be stacked 10 times, theoretically, you can actually increase your Cosmo by 100%, which is crazy. Essentially, that basically means that you'll be releasing your Ultima twice as far. And remember, this Ultima has this repel effect, which is compulsory interruption as well. And this is basically kind of the main game plan with Astra Seiya, is that you charge up your Cosmo really fast to keep on fighting, inflicting control effect, and also you have your Pegasus Strike, which can be triggered when there's a knock up ability. And basically, what happens is you'll be dealing constant damage and at the same time constant interruption. And that's why in my opinion, I think like Astro Seiya is actually really, really solid character. Not compulsory, not mandatory character to get, but certainly very, very strong. Um, Something else really interesting about this is the level 2 ability for Burning Cosmo, which basically says whenever Seiya is affected by any control or interruption effect, he will get a stack as well. One synergy I can think of is with Papillon Mew, because what Papillon Mew does is when Papillon Mew takes, I think, like 15% of HP damage, he's going to release I think like sleep powder or something. Or maybe when Papillon Mew awakens, then basically he will quite frequently put everyone on the field to sleep. So both the enemies and also yourself. However, what this is going to do is actually going to benefit Astro Seiya, because when Astro Seiya put it to sleep, he's actually going to get a stack, and this allows him to charge up his Cosmo even quicker and allow him to reach the 10 layers or the 10 stacks really, really fast. So that's also a really interesting strategy. And also, Papillon Mule is another wind character. And, this is exactly what I'm talking about how Astral Seiya can really help you to fill a mono wind team without actually relying on any kind of those ice freeze characters. So theoretically, you can actually fill two wind teams now. One mono wind team based on Astral Seiya, another mono wind team which is based more kind of on across Camus, across Hugo, on top kind of the ice freezing synergy team. So basically, yeah, Astral Seiya definitely helps you to really unlock a lot of value in probably not in your first team, but more kind of in your third team, maybe fourth team, etc. So very good character to get. Now, in terms of clothes, um, first two levels are interesting. Basically, when Seiya is attacked by a skill which has already been inflicted on him, so i.e. a repeated skill, you're going to reduce hit rate by 15%. I'm not sure whether the stack or not. No, this is something probably we need to test, but so I'm not sure whether it's actually going to be stacked. If it's going to be stacked, it'd be absolutely insane. Judging by the fact it's only the second level of clothes, I'm leaning towards it's not gonna stack. But even if it's not gonna stack, it's like a 15% built-in dodge rate, so that's still quite nice. And then level 20, your healing receive increased by 50% when HP is lower than 30%. You basically need a healer to take advantage of that, so that's okay. But at the highest level, it's quite nice. Basically, the trigger rate increased to 100% when Seiya's HP is below 30%. And Pegasus Guardian is this really strong passive that I've been talking about, the one where he has like a built-in 50% damage reduction. So that basically means that whenever Seiya's HP is below 30%, you're gonna get a built-in 50% damage reduction straight away. And that's gonna make Astral Seiya quite hard to kill and can potentially help Astral Seiya to stay much longer on the field in comparison to your other teammates, and that's gonna be nice because of his constellation skill. Because what his constellation skill does is that whenever an ally is defeated, what's gonna do is you're gonna increase your Seiya's attack by 25% permanently, so it doesn't. There's no cooldown; it will always stay on. And also, when Seiya is the only one left on the field, he first of all become invincible for 3 seconds. He will charge off his Cosmo immediately, and now his Ultima can attack all of the enemy afterwards as well. Now, so obviously, what I just talked about his clothes, level 30 clothes, will help him to survive longer, so more likely for him to be the last character standing. But personally, to be honest, I don't think his constellation is that good. First of all, the fact that this only activate when ally is defeated. If an ally is already defeated, normally the game is not in your favor anyway. Especially like if you're the only knight left standing, normally the battle is already coming to a close. Like you pretty much lost that battle. You know, it's 5 against 1, well, 3 against 1 at that point. It doesn't matter how good your skill is. You pretty much lost that battle. So that's why I'm not really a great fan of his constellation. Now, so yeah, so I think constellation is nice to have, but don't worry too much about it. His clothes, I think minimum level 10 just for that built-in 15% permanent dodge, and also just in case that do actually stack, in which case it will be OP. But otherwise, I think level 30 once again is a nice to have. It's definitely better than Constellation. Like if you have to prioritize either close or Constellation, definitely go for close. It's so much more useful than his Constellation. But in terms of whether you need to splash out all the way to level 30, that's really up to you. I think it's quite conditional as well because even though it's really good ability, you have to get his HP to below 30% in order to actually activate it. So I'm not too sure how reliable this is either. So yeah, so I wouldn't worry too much about his close or constellation. And now in terms of like conclusion, exactly, should you go for Astral Seiya? Um, I honestly think so. You should. He's not like he's definitely not one of the top tier characters, but he's definitely very solid. The fact that you can get him for free, and also he's an Astral Knight, which basically means that you only need one single copy, so he can immediately get 16 stars. His constellation, like I said, is nice to have, but you can skip it. His clothes, level 30 is nice to have, but you can also skip it. Level 10 is probably enough. So that actually makes Astro Saiyan like really valuable even without spending much resources. So as soon as you can redeem him with all of the free game currencies, he's immediately ready to go. And that's why I think, definitely try to get him. Now, obviously you can get him for free by redeeming the various different in-game currencies, and that's definitely what I would advise you. So please do start saving up all of your resources, all of your in-game currencies, so you're able to get him for free. Now, if you, for whatever reason, are short of those currencies and are thinking whether you actually should spend money to get him, then my opinion is probably no. It's not worth it. It's not one of those OP characters who will make a massive difference. He does allow you to fill in a second mono wind team. I don't think the mono wind team centered around him would be as good as the ice freeze mono wind team centered around Akras Hyuga and Akras Kames. I mean, obviously he's a lot cheaper than Akras Hyuga, but still, in terms of pure strength wise, even though he is able to allow you to fill a mono wind team, the actual strength of it is not so good. So that team is probably only going to be your third team or fourth team, or maybe even lower. So I don't actually see too many opportunities where you will actively play him unless like you are completely new to the game and you don't have too many characters to choose from. But yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on him. I think he's definitely a very good character for the fact that he's able to be played without much close or constellation, and also that you can get him for free at 16 star if you link him up properly. But if you do have to pay for him, then I say you just skip him altogether.